February 27th, 2024. Good morning. Welcome to Backstory with Dr. B. I have been incredibly stymied in trying to actually produce any kind of content. So I'm doing a little experiment today. I've got the Dragon program running, so it's typing, hopefully, approximately what I'm saying. And I've been wanting to do this kind of a deep dive through Putin's interview with Tucker Carlson, and then have that come up on Dragon in type form because I'm a terrible typist, but I am pretty good at dictation. But I don't really have time for that today, and I was reading something interesting that had my mind kind of working. So I thought, well, you know what? Instead of trying to subdivide all of the things that I talk about by topic, I'm just going to kind of go with this is all going to be about what I'm reading at the moment. So right now, I know I'm on reverse view with the thing, so this is going to come up backwards. But this is a book called Bronze Age Mindset by a guy who calls himself Bronze Age Pervert. Apparently, he's got quite a following online, and I really haven't ever actually looked at anything he's written or anything, but I did run across a couple of references to him, and I thought, well, you know what, I'll get his book because I kind of put him on the maps from my understanding. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. Anyway, I got his book and I was reading it, and I got up to page 24, 25, and I'm so disappointed. I'm so disappointed in this guy. I'm like, kind of got an open mind. I don't really know. Yeah, have you ever done that? You get a book from somebody who's a little bit controversial, and you're like, oh, well, I'll read this and let me see what they're talking about. I'm really not into his thing or whatever it is his thing even is. So he's talking about human development and the development of animals in the context of mastering your environment, right? Like territory, like your cat's got territory. Every morning, my cat wants to go outside first thing and run all the way around the house. And then she wants back in and wants me to feed her and pet her, like every morning. So she's adorable. So she wants to go out and check out her territory, right? Everybody knows animals have territory. I mean, territorial rights are built into our legal system. It's my property. I can do with it what I want. You can't trespass on my property, kind of a thing, right? That's why eminent domain is so messed up. So I've kind of got an open mind, and he's making some interesting points. And then he gets to this section on page 25. And I just... All right, I'm going to get to the part right here. Bear with me. An organism seeks to become strong, skillful to master problems and feel the expansion of its powers, and not just feel them, but perceive it to be truly so. Perceive intuitively its master over its space. We're talking about, establishing territory and your territory of your field of endeavor in your life. Space. Only after full development of its powers. Put on your galoshes because you're going to be wading through some deep BS here. Only after full development of its powers and its mastery over space specific to its needs does the need or desire for reproduction come, said the guy living in his basement. Oh, I'm going to put off my sexual desires while I master my space? You're mastering something else, bro. I'm glad you got free Wi-Fi for all the porn you watch. Reproduction is side effect of animal desire for discharge of strength. I'm like, no, the desire for discharge comes first. Believe me. Reproduction is the side effect of animal desire for discharge of strength after, in italics, after mastery over space is achieved. I'm writing in the margins, no. For this reason, many lower animals breed very fast and in great hurry, but the higher and more organized the form of life, the more complex its needs for development are, the longer is delayed the time of reproduction, and the more vulnerable it is to the stresses of competition for survival. I'm like, keep telling yourself that, incel. This is like the most convoluted explanation for why this guy doesn't get laid that I've ever heard in my life. So I don't know what kind of Reddit thread or bros they're hanging out listening to this guy are, but this is just the most funny, sort of the self excuse for like, this is why I'm developing my brain, because I'm a really complicated life form. I might not ever get laid. I might have to become the Dalai Lama and maybe stay a virgin until the next time around on the wheel. Oh man, it's just hilarious. So life is at most basic struggle for ownership of space. I'm like, your parents' basement. Wrong. Wrong. The dude is like so not even on track. I have lost all respect for him already. So anyway, maybe he's got some great stuff, and maybe this was just a passage I disagreed with. I'm only up to page 25, and God knows he keeps going. He's written almost a 200-page book. I guess the struggle for self-identity and mastery of space stops before 200 pages. It's so easy to be mean to somebody who's actually written and published a book and has people that follow him online. Where I've done squat that way. I've been busy having children and raising a family and building a career. So what I'm doing here is this is just me trying to be spontaneous. I'm being mean. I'm totally taking the piss on this guy. This is dumb, though. This is dumb. Because I remember, you're not going to want to hear this, my children, if my children are watching, and I know they never will, but if they are, I can quite assure you the biological imperatives start first. You're not mostly concerned with mastering your space in your bedroom when you're a teenager and you want to go outside and get laid. Having said that, culture is quite a bit different than when I was a young man. So we were a bit more earthy and a bit more into it, and we were certainly more clear-headed about what we wanted and what we thought we wanted. And it was very banal and very base, So I'm not saying his it's kind of a nice ideal, right? It's kind of like, wow, I'd really like to get my stuff together before I decide to have a family. It's like, yeah. I'm not getting that vibe. I'm not getting that vibe. I could argue the opposite way completely. I would be happy to do so. But putting up procreation and the natural. Come on. Carl Jung was like, yes, and Freud. Even Freud was a complete perv. They were all in unanimity that the sexual urge and the urge for reproduction is super high on the list. It's super high on the list. And you don't have to become the Dalai Lama or reach a stage of enlightenment before you should feel free to indulge that. If it wasn't such a biological imperative, there wouldn't be so much porn out, and porn is draining the natural vitality out of people, because they're putting it into nothing. Rather than a relationship with somebody who has bad breath, maybe, or somebody who you can smell their last meal. I lived in Dixon, Illinois for a while, and McDonald's was like the most popular restaurant in town. Golden Corral was where you went after church when you wanted to be fancy, but the McDonald's was the main social hub of the town. I loved living in Dixon. It was such a cool town. I never had more friends than when I lived in the Midwest. Coming from California, it was just such a treat. I couldn't stand being away from the ocean and landlocked for miles around. But I remember when they tore that place down and built the new McDonald's, which was like the social event of the season. The smell of ancient, half-century old grease and suet or whatever it was that they made French fries with just emanated from the cinder block wreckage of this building as it lay there and just sort of steamed, it just evaporated, and all of this funk was just coming out in the air from 1950s hamburgers and French fries. So it was a delightful time living out there. Maybe Bronze Age pervert is an okay guy. I don't know. Maybe he appeals to a certain type of person. And it's like Jordan Peterson. It's like, get your stuff together and clean your room. It's kind of like that, right? It's kind of like, yeah, but maybe you should have some experiences too. Don't be stupid, but for heaven's sake, I'm not advocating immorality, but this is ridiculous. Biology always trumps it. And in fact, half of the evil crap that humans do is because of twisted sexual desire. In other words, sexual desire that's not handled appropriately. It's the libido. It's the life force, as Dr. Evil would say. The life force, the libido. So the proper channeling of that into not just being a pervert, but into actually being a productive, creative, which is kind of what he's saying, right? He's saying yeah, you should be a productive, creative person. But at the same time, I don't know. That page just did not strike me well. Anyway, I think the Putin interview is going to be fun. I'm basically just going to read through the transcript of it. But I'm going random here, so I'm really not, and I don't really have an agenda with respect to anything. I'm doing this as sort of like a personal form of journaling because my wife's tired of listening to me talk about this kind of stuff. So I'm going to put it out there, and I don't really care what happens. But I got to get ready for work, and I got to pay some bills. So I hope I muster the gumption to get back online.